The rain began to fall just before midnight, cold and heavy, washing over the quiet streets of Brookside Town. The wind moved through the alleys like a whisper carrying secrets, and the dim orange glow of streetlights flickered against the puddles forming on the road. Detective Ethan Cross sat in his car outside the precinct, sipping his second cup of stale coffee when the radio crackled to life. "Detective Cross," said the dispatcher, her voice faint through the static. "We've got a call. Possible homicide on Maple Street. House number 41. You'd better take this one." Ethan sighed, placed the cup down, and turned the key in the ignition. The wipers dragged across his windshield as he drove through the storm, the rain tapping against the roof like restless fingers. Something about late-night murders always felt different. The silence afterward, the kind that made you question if the town was holding its breath. When he reached the old Turner residence, the place already looked haunted. It was a large, aging house with ivy crawling up its sides and a porch that creaked under the weight of the storm. The front door was ajar. Inside, the lights were dim, and the smell of gunpowder still hung in the air, mixed with something metallic and sharp. Blood. Daniel Turner, 42 years old, successful businessman, now lay dead on the living room floor. His lifeless eyes stared at the cracked ceiling, one hand stretched toward the coffee table, where a single glass of whiskey remained half full. A gunshot wound to the chest. The medical examiner quietly noted the time of death, somewhere between 10:30 and 11 p.m. Ethan crouched down, studying the scene. There were no signs of forced entry. The furniture was undisturbed, and nothing seemed stolen. It didn't look like a robbery. Then he noticed something unusual, a wristwatch near the victim's hand, its glass shattered, the second hand frozen at exactly 10:47. In the corner of the room sat Laura Turner, the victim's wife. She looked pale and shaken, wrapped in a blanket an officer had given her. Her dark hair clung to her damp face, and her hands trembled as she tried to light a cigarette. "I went out for a walk," she said, her voice barely audible. "When I came back, I found him like this." The door was open, and her words broke off as tears welled in her eyes, though Ethan wasn't sure if they were real or practiced. He nodded slowly. "Did your husband have any enemies, Mrs. Turner? Anyone who might have wanted to hurt him?" She hesitated. "No one. Everyone loved Daniel." Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he studied her hands, neatly manicured, but faintly stained. Not with blood, but with something more subtle. Gun oil, maybe. He filed that thought away. Outside, under an umbrella, the old neighbor Mr. Harlan waited. He was a retired watchmaker who'd lived across the street for decades. His wrinkled face was illuminated by the flashing red and blue lights from the police cars. "I saw a car leave around 10:45, Harlan said when Ethan approached him. "No headlights on. Dark sedan. Can't say who was driving, but I did hear something before that. A woman's voice shouting, then a gunshot." Ethan looked back at the house. The timing fit perfectly. The watch stopped at 10:47. The car leaving at 10:45. A woman's voice. Hours later, at the station, Ethan sat surrounded by folders and coffee cups. Daniel Turner's business records filled the table. Among them, one file was missing, labeled Project Raven. After some digging, Ethan discovered that Daniel had been planning to expose illegal money transfers from a powerful company called Vanguard Industries. A scandal like that could ruin lives. Maybe someone decided to stop him before he could talk. But then came the lab results. The technician's voice over the phone was calm but clear. "Detective, we found gunshot residue on Laura Turner's right hand. There's a DNA match on the weapon, too." Ethan's jaw tightened. So she had lied. When he returned to the house, the storm had quieted to a drizzle. Laura sat by the window, still wearing her blood-stained nightgown, staring into the empty street. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said softly, without even looking up. "I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to scare him." Ethan stepped closer. "You planned to make it look like a break-in." She nodded. "He was leaving me, Detective, for his secretary. After everything we built, after all the years, he was just going to walk away." She looked up finally, her eyes empty, her voice steady now. I couldn't let him do that. So yes, I pulled the trigger. Then I took the file he was hiding, Project Raven, and burned it in the fireplace before you arrived. No one will ever find it. Ethan stared at her for a long moment before turning away. Outside, dawn was starting to break. The rain had stopped, but the air was still thick with the smell of smoke and loss. Back in his car, he reached into the evidence bag beside him. Inside lay the broken wristwatch. As he turned it over in his hand, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. Reflected faintly beneath the cracked glass was a blurred image frozen in time. Not of Laura, but of a man standing behind Daniel, holding a gun. Ethan's pulse quickened. Maybe Laura hadn't been lying entirely. Maybe she wasn't alone that night. Maybe someone else had been there, someone who wanted the Project Raven file gone just as much as she did. He started the engine and muttered to himself, "This isn't over." The last drops of rain slid down the windshield as the detective drove away, leaving the quiet house behind. Somewhere in the shadows, another story was waiting to be uncovered.